Naga Nerfs. So we finally see nerfs for the broken new tribe. Let's talk about it because it's actually quite significant. Starting off with, well, this is not a Naga nerf, but I guess they buffed some other cards and heroes meanwhile as well, because obviously Nagas getting nerfed means that other tribes and other heroes will be back to being strong, just like before the buddy meta. And Flurgl was a really strong, really consistent hero all around, and I think with Nagas being nerfed, indeed Flurgl is just really good. So I kind of understand him getting nerfed, although the nerf is pretty significant. Now normally it's after you sell a minion you get a random Murloc in Bob Stavern, but right now you need to sell 2 minions and you get a random Murloc back in Bob Stavern. Having to sell 2 minions to get a random Murloc, this seems really bad. I think all of a sudden Flurgl is gonna come from a kind of consistent top tier hero to pretty mid to low tier. This just seems like so much effort to get a random Murloc. I don't think Flurgl is gonna see too much play anymore. I think Murlocs will be fine, will be pretty strong, but just this Murloc forcing hero, yeah, kind of iffy. That's the only hero we saw a change to, surprisingly, because there's a lot of other heroes that, again, we would like to see nerfed and buffed. Especially buffed, there's a lot of unplayable heroes right now with buddies removed. I think that's like the biggest comment I got, is that since buddies rotation, there's a lot of heroes that I just don't see play, like Queen Whack Toggle, like Pyramid, they're all just trash. And yeah, I'd love to see some changes. Now, they made armor changes. I don't think any of these are too important or too impactful. Armor, as we've seen, is nice, but it isn't a big indicator how strong or weak a hero is. Like, the hero power is still what matters most, so I don't think the armor, it's like gonna have a little bit of an effect on the average placement, but you will still have really awful games with bad heroes, and that is not gonna change. Now on to the Naga changes. Finally, so Snail just got from 5 to 4 attack. I think that is fine. Snail was like an okay card. It was a really good 2-drop because it's the highest attack 2-drop that kind of scales up, but it doesn't go into a late game board. Most of the time you sell this, even in the mid game already. Like, it's not a permanent card, so seeing it with like a minor nerf is whatever. I think they could have even kept this card alone and let it be and just be like a strong 2-drop, because we kind of need some strong 2-drops, but hey, I think this is fine. Now, Lava Lurker is a card everyone was whining about. Now goes from 5 health to 4. Sure, like, I'm happy this card's decent nerf. This is not a super big nerf. Now, 5 health is a lot for a 2-drop, especially since it can scale up rapidly if you already have Spellcraft. But that's the thing. This card actually was surprisingly strong at first, but kind of fell off because the 6-drop Nagas were so strong. Like, you prefer having a board full of Spellcraft. Spellcraft synergizes as well with the 3-drop Siren, which is really broken. Which hopefully has a nerf as well. And with the 6-drops, like, this thing kind of just didn't have a place in that sort of mid-end game Naga comp. It's mainly to be strong early, to stabilize, to skill up. So it did, I think, have to see a nerf. Again, a small nerf, kind of like Snail. Even though it's better than Snail. I think this is okay. I think this is enough. We will see again because, well, the late game does get a bit of a hit, but I think it's still just a decently strong early game card that is going to be scaled up. I think it's still one of the stronger 2-drops that you will see on people's boards. The size of this and the fact that it can scale is pretty good, but again, into a late game, this could become iffy, but still an amazing card. I think they could have nerfed it a little bit more even, but so be it. Now, while you're watching this video, I might probably be live already on Twitch, so if you want to see these new cards in action and see if the nerf was enough, then I guess go check out the stream or subscribe to your channel. I'll be uploading a video in 1 or 2 days with a meta update. Troll Commander from a 2-2 to a 1-2. Again, like, very minor stat nerfs. So far, this probably isn't going to impact Naga too much, because, you know, reducing like 1 stat point of these cards, I don't think is huge. They're still a good tempo, they still have crazy synergy and scaling potential. So far, this is not going to be too heavy of a hit to the early game even. This is still just a great Naga to have, right? If you have the Siren, the 3-drop on board, and if you want to end up scaling mid to late game. It's still one of the most powerful effects on a full Naga board, but you now never take this card anymore, I think, if you don't have Naga. Sometimes I would take this even with 1 or 2 Naga on a board, because I know the setup that this can have, but if Naga endgame does get a hit, I think this card is terrible. I think without the initial cards on the board, playing a 1-2 that gives like +1/+1 or +2/+2, not even as scaling, just like as stats on the board, this is not that great. Again, if the end game gets nerfed and if the Siren is not on the same tier anymore or with the same effect. So I think this is pretty interesting. Now, Stormscale Siren, this is the card that enables all of it, is now at Tavern tier 5. This is the first time I think we see something jump 2 Tavern tiers, from tier 3 all the way to tier 5. This is insane. So from a 5-4, it went to a 6-5, I guess, because it goes 2 tiers higher. The effect is exactly the same. It just worded a bit differently. So you still, this will still work exactly the same, have the same interactions, skill with the 6 jobs, trigger all of the cards as intended, skill up the brood, because they apparently wanted to keep that, but they moved it to 7 tiers. This is huge because, well, now this card is really bad. This card was nice to pick up because if you hit a Siren, it's already big on itself as well. It's actually a lot of stats, a big spike. And there's a lot in the pool. It's easy to find 2 copies of this early, easy to triple this. It's, you know, we can find it with broods on the board already, which is a 4-drop, and scale that up. So having like less of these in the pool and finding them way later in the game means that the setup for Naga is super hard to achieve. Now it will be a lot harder to actually get your board together, and then if you triple you win, for example. That is not going to be the case anymore. You don't just usually buy this without having any of the other cards on the board anymore, especially since you can triple into this. Now imagine tripling into a 5-drop and seeing Siren, where normally you can just roll multiple in your shop on tier 3. That is going to be a big shift in playstyle. But I think it's good. I think in my head right now, this seems fine. I like the effect. I do like the way they try and like portray Naga as a tribe. And I think kind of like if they would change the effect of how the card works, it would probably kill the tribe or make it way less fun. It would just not make too much sense to me. So I like that they kept the effect for now and moved it to 7 tiers. That means that you could still build those automatic scaling boards and you can still set up a board and triple into 5. It's just gonna happen way less frequently and you can't force it anymore. You can't really force Naga because you actually need a 5-drop now to make it work. It's the same as trying to force beasts and just hope you roll a mama bear or a crocolisk. It doesn't make sense. So yeah, as mentioned, the text update is not a functional change, it's just a rephrasing because it was kind of off with how it actually works. Now, Creditwrangler getting a nerf I didn't see coming because I think the card is pretty good, but if everything else gets nerfed, then this will be just a decent card. Like compared to Lightfang, for example, where it automatically scales multiple cards on your board, you have to play Spellcraft and this will automatically scale those cards. It kind of got the Lightfang treatment, so instead of +2/+2, it now goes +2/+1. Also, the stat line got nerfed from a 5-7 to a 5-6, so 1 less health and less scaling. I don't think they had to do this. I think this card was fine. It didn't see that much play, and if you miss your 6 drops, this could help you stabilize. It's just a Spellcraft Lightfang, so you could buff whatever you want. So you could stack 1 cleaver or something. I think it was really cool, and I think going with this more than with Atissa was, I think, a good way to go in Naga. I don't think this had to be nerfed, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe with all of these other functional changes, this card would otherwise be too strong compared to the other 5-drops. So we will see how it goes. But yeah, so just so you know, Creditwrangler, another scaling piece on tier 5, nerfed. Tide Mistress Atissa, the card that everyone is complaining about, went from a 7-8 to a 7-3. So from 8 health to 3, which is kind of insane. Because now it just dies to a 1-drop if a 1-drop trades into it. But I mean, besides the stat line, the effect is also nerfed. So instead of buffing 4 friendly Naga, it's now 3 friendly Naga. This is huge, I think. Like, just cutting down the scaling by 25% is a lot. Remember that Siren is way harder to triple and find because it's a 5-drop, so that is going to impact this a lot as well. Remember that it's harder to set up with trolls because the stat line is worse. These will probably still see a decent amount of play. You can't just play it like before anymore, which is good, obviously. Power level to tier 5, triple into 6s, hope you hit at this and you're fine. Because now the scaling compared to an actual Caligos board or compared to tempo spikes with beast, you're just gonna die. So you will still, I think, see at this boards. I think this is still a playable tribe, but it's not gonna win every lobby anymore unless it Omega high rolls, which you can still do. I think Octo also got nerfed, but I think you can still, if you get lucky, find an Octopus. I keep saying Octopus, it's Orgazoa, by the way. You can still get a Siren early on the board with that, discover multiple cards, triples, and snowball that way. But every tribe can snowball and high roll, right? I think this power level so far seems to be in line with what we saw. Now, everything is getting hit though, so even the early game, the mid game, the late game, even the critter scaling. In the thumbnail you'll see Naga is dead. I put it there because I'm actually a little bit scared that maybe these nerfs are overkill. Like maybe just the fact that critter is also nerfed, the 6-drop is now just so much worse. You cannot really find Siren anymore for early tempo, so even it's like not even that good to buy Spellcraft units early because they don't even buff themselves anymore that often. It's just super hard to set up for it, so I'm actually scared that maybe they over-nerfed a little bit, but we will see. Again, all I can do is speculate. Let's go to the big boy now, Orgazoa, who went from a 5-9 to a 3-7. Also big stat nerfs, so now again, if you triple into these, you kind of need a good board already or you're gonna die. It's already tough to try and triple into these and set up a board and not die to tempo players is going to be even harder now. So again, you can't just brain that level and hope you hit. You actually need to set up and play an early mid game again without just hoarding triples and trying to hit. You will just get to play the game of Battlegrounds again and maybe slowly transition into this board without less snowball potential. Functionally, the card didn't change. It still works exactly the same. So that's what I mentioned with, you can still high roll the same way. You can still slap this on the board, find a Siren, and kind of do the same stupid stuff we saw before, just a little bit less consistently and tuned down. And interestingly enough, they chose to nerf a couple other cards. Now, Darkgaze Elder, after you spend 4 gold, play a Blood Gem, is now after you spend 5 gold. So even though this card wasn't able to win many lobbies, nothing was winning lobbies with Naga, right? So we didn't really get to see this card shine, which is a little bit sad, but apparently they have enough data to know that this card is super strong. I would predict that Quillbors would be the strongest tribe after Naga nerfs. Like, I was pretty sure that Menagerie Quillbor, or just Quillbor in general, was gonna be the second strongest tribe, or maybe the strongest tribe after nerfs, and seeing them already address it kind of makes me believe that that would have been the case. I still think it's a strong card. You get a lot of free buffs. It works really well with Agams on the board. Like, I don't need to explain all the interactions, but clearly they saw that this card was strong and already nerfed it before it actually got to shine, because Naga just took the spotlight. But I still like it. I think you will still see Quillbors do pretty decent right now. They even nerfed young Murk-Eye already. Like, these are the two only comps that people said could maybe compete with Naga, and sometimes were able to steal a lobby away scaling wise. So I guess it makes sense that the power level is pretty high. Now, instead of at the end of your turn it triggers the adjacent Murloc battle cries, it will now trigger only the battle cry to the left of it. So it's half the effect. This is actually a massive nerf. So instead of putting 2 Begurgles or a Lookout and a Siren next to it, instead of triggering 2, it only triggers 1. Which is, I don't know, that is a big nerf. Like, only triggering 1 is really bad. I think this is maybe even killing the card. The golden version, I think is confirmed, is the same as the normal version would normally be. So it triggers adjacent Murloc. So you need 3 6-drops, a tripled version, to basically have the same one as the pre-nerfed one. I don't know, I think Murlocs will still be strong with Brand. You will still do all of that bullshit, but you don't really want to triple into 6s to hit this anymore. I think it will still be a decent card, don't get me wrong. It's still one of the better Murlocs to have on the board if you're playing Murlocs, because you will still get a lot of free scaling and stats or discovers. But, I mean, not to the effect that it used to be. So interesting to see them nerf non-Nagas in this patch as well. There's also some important bugs being fixed. Connectivity surrounding Discover effect. So we had a lot of disconnect issues. I wonder if this is about it. Or maybe that's just for standard, I'm not sure. But here's a bug about a temporary Divine Shield from Glow Scale could remove a minion's permanent Divine Shield. Oh wow, I didn't even know that. Fix a bug where applying a spellcraft to a magnetic minion in Bob's Tavern then makes that buff permanent. Oh wow, wait, that was a bug? So previously we even saw this in Lobby Legends in one of my previous videos. You could, this is actually huge, you could stack up a module, for example, or a menace in the shop with spellcraft, then just buy it, magnetic it, and the buffs would be permanent. So you could turn spellcraft spells permanently into stats onto mechs. And I thought it was a really cool way to use spellcraft, a really cool way to try and scale with mechs, and that it was intended. But apparently that's a bug, and I wish they kept this in the game. I think it was really cool. Seeing this being removed makes spellcraft actually a lot worse, especially right now after the nerfs. Damn. That kind of feels bad. Now that was it. Let me know what you think down below as well. And again, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you in the next video.